Should President-elect Barack Obama pick Hillary Clinton to be his Secretary of State? Michelle Bernard's an MSNBC political analyst, and Joan Walsh is with Salon. Let me go, first of all, to Joan. Your thoughts on this. I want to ask you about a couple of things. Well, your thoughts, then we'll go to some of the other commentators. Your thoughts first.
My thoughts, Chris, I think she'd be a great Secretary of State if Obama picks her. And what I mean by that is it's his choice, and if he decides that he trusts her, and if he decides that he wants her in his cabinet, she'll do a terrific job. And I think all this second-guessing, especially by people who have until now respected Obama, is a little bit mystifying to me. I also want to make a point about your lead-in. As I recall, and you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Andrea Mitchell break this story, and didn't she have 2 Obama advisors as her source last week? So there's this notion that the Clintons are leaking and it's all the Clintons' fault that we've got this drama, and I don't think that's fair either. So I think she's smart.
Let's go to that.
I think she's
to
tough.
That question. That's a great question. Who's leaking all this information? I'm looking at the New York Times today, Joan. You may have seen it. Here's Philippe Reines, who's Senator Clinton's press secretary, saying that one of the concerns they have from their end is they want to pay off $7.6 million in campaign debts. They also want to pay the money back that Hillary Clinton lent her campaign as a precondition to getting this job. That's being done in public. Bill Clinton's in the Wall Street Journal
Philippe
front page.
actually said that.
Yeah, here.
Did Philippe himself say that?
Let me just read this again here. Just a minute. Mrs. Clinton has $7.6 million in outstanding bills from the campaign, Mr. Reines said, not including personal loans she made to her campaign. I don't know. I'm getting it from him in the paper today. And that information's coming out from them. Bill Clinton's talking about how he's going to smooth the path, what he's going to do in terms of changing his habits internationally in terms of his business dealings. There's a lot of discussions going on in public. The Politico, which I know you respect, has reported today that the Clintons have named negotiators. They've got 3 people, including Bruce Lindsay. Here's some names. They actually have negotiators out there publicly deciding how to vet the information, what information to make public. And they say they don't want some of this information they give to Barack's people made public. They want some of it kept private. So they're already, and these are people like Cheryl Mills, you respect, Bruce Lindsay, Doug Band. I think that's the former president's body man. These guys are all out there publicly talking about what they're going to put forward to make this vetting thing work. Here's David Broder, by the way. He's the most nonpartisan guy in the business. Here's what he wrote today. What Obama needs in the person running the State Department is a diplomat who will carry out his foreign policy. He does not need someone who will tell him how to approach the world or be his mentor in international relations. One of the principal reasons he was elected was that, relying on his instincts, he came to the correct conclusion that war with Iraq was not in America's interest. He was more right about that than most of us in Washington, including Hillary Clinton. Now, that's Broder. What do you think? I want to ask. I got to bring in Michelle here.
Interject. I mean, I agree with Broder. I think that if the president-elect is seriously considering Hillary Clinton, he's going to have a huge problem with the people that put him in office. It borders on sheer lunacy. When do you ever see in the history of the United States government people who are up for cabinet positions negotiating before the American public? I do ask, how did this end up in the Washington Post? We call him No Drama Obama. He ran such a disciplined campaign. He's now the president-elect, and once again, all of the headlines in the news are about Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. And again, I have to say to myself, who is the president-elect? Is it Senator Obama, former Senator Obama, or is it Hillary Clinton? When does it end? She is a leader. She is not a follower. If she's going to be a good diplomat for the United States government, she has to be able to follow Obama's lead. And let's face it, Senator Clinton probably still is looking to 2012 and 2016. You can't do that and be an effective diplomat and also be an effective follower of the president-elect of the United States.
Then he won't pick her. You know what, Michelle? Then he won't pick her. But this is what I have to say. I think this is fascinating. While the world was swept by Obama mania last year, I confess I was a late swooner, okay? I had some questions about him, but he won me over. And now I'm sitting here on the sidelines, admittedly, saying, I trust Obama to make the right decision. If he picks her, it will be because he believes she will carry out his foreign policy. And if he doesn't pick her, there might be many reasons for that, but it'll be the right choice. So, I think this whole idea, first of all, the Clintons are being blamed for leaking when it's not clear to me who's leaking what and who's talking about the negotiations. That might be Obama people who want to scuttle this thing. But as always, the default in any situation is to blame the Clintons. They're the ones at fault. And I trust Obama to look at this. I also think during the primary campaign, there was not an inch of daylight between their foreign policies. They both had a lot of political incentive to exaggerate the differences. He, considered her a hawk, and she was wrong about Iraq, and he was right. I agree on that. But basically, they would have had the same foreign policy. So if he sees something there that he believes he, as our president, can use and can capitalize on, I say more power to him. It makes him look like the strongest man in America, barring none.
See, I don't think this is a question of whether or not people trust Barack Obama's judgment to pick her or not pick her as Secretary of State. But there are a lot of questions about the Clintons. There is always drama, and we had a very long primary season in this country. There are always questions about the Clintons. We had a very long primary season here in this country. It was very difficult. Former President Clinton race baited. There were so many questions that went on all throughout the primary. Well, as an African American, I can tell you that I personally felt horrified when I saw the comments he made about Jesse Jackson winning whichever state it was, whether it was South Carolina or North Carolina. And as an African American, it was race baiting. It was disgusting.
I respect your opinion, but I disagree.
And one of Hillary Clinton's biggest problems is if she becomes Secretary of State, Bill Clinton comes along with her. Whether he gives up his foreign speeches or not, he becomes part of the equation, and it will minimize her effectiveness.
I want to try something here because it gets down to judgment. I'm with Joan on this one, and I don't know what to say. Let me just tell you, Jonah, it seems to me when you're with Hillary Clinton, you've had private interviews with her. I know I've had meetings with her. And when you're with her, she is absolutely stunning, intellectually, personally, whatever you want to throw in the mix. Charm, humanity, whatever, it's all there.
Yes.
I can see that they've established something of a relationship. There's one thing you've got to admit, Michelle. Whatever's going on here, he's trusting her with the biggest job of his life, which is to end the war in Iraq, prevent a war with Iran. And he's trusting her as his lead person to do that. Why do you think he is trusting her? Because he clearly is playing with the idea. Clearly, he's saying to us, I want her to have this job. He wouldn't have let this balloon stay afloat so long. Why is he doing it?
Well, I don't think that he's telling us that he wants her to have this job. I think he's saying that he's thinking about it, he's floating it out there, and maybe he's seeing how the public is going to react to it. I'm not convinced that she's his top choice for Secretary of State. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but what we do know is no announcement has been made. We've heard about other people.
Let's take an analytical question. Let's take it. Forget Hillary Clinton for a second. Forget Barack Obama. Can someone be Secretary of State who has presidential ambitions down the road? Joan first. Is that conceivable? Sure. Because you're playing to the constituencies that you need to get elected. That's not necessarily playing to the policy the president wants. Right. You know that. You got to keep people happy if you're Secretary of State and you want to be president, whereas if you want to be just a good Secretary of State, you just got to keep the president happy. That's a different job description, isn't it?
It's a different boss. It's a different job. It's a different job description. However, you could imagine a scenario in which being a fantastic Secretary of State, which means representing your president, leads you to become the president. You can imagine it. The two things are not mutually exclusive. She would have to do an amazing job, which would mean representing his interests without any daylight between them, without anybody ever questioning who she speaks for. If she did that, she could become president. If she failed at it, if she undermined him, she would really undermine her chances of becoming president. In my opinion, what an awful thing to do.
Let me render my judgment here, and I've been tough on the Clintons for a long time now, maybe 10 or 20 years, and you're chuckling, Joan, both Clintons. But let me say this. If she doesn't do everything she can, and Bill doesn't do everything he can to get her this job, and for her to get this job, they're crazy. This is the greatest job of our time, because following Bush in foreign policy is the greatest act you can do, because he blew it. He got us into a war we shouldn't have been in. We're on the danger of coming into another war, and it takes a really smart person and a president and a Secretary of State working together to keep us down the road towards ultimate peace in the Middle East especially. Not even talking about Darfur and Zimbabwe and all these other crazy parts of the world. We got a world that's getting overcrowded. It's getting hotter, with every ethnic group wanting to fight with every other ethnic group, and it's balkanizing in every country. They want their own ethnic power, their own hegemony, and everybody wants to fight with each other, and we got to be the stud duck. We got to make it work. I'm sorry, that was gender specific. Give me a better word, Joan. We have to be the strong force in the world for good and peace, and it's a hell of a job opportunity. And I hope Hillary Clinton, if she wants it, gets it. It's a great opportunity, and I wish her well in this regard. But I do think these questions that have been raised have been damn legitimate, and given the Clintons' track record, they better damn well have been asked. But on the road, as you point out, Joan, either you trust Barack or you don't. Right. Have I said it right, Joan, this time? I'm trying to learn.
I think you said it very well this time.
I'm trying to learn, because your respect is very, very important to me, Joan Walsh. Thank you. Michelle Bernard. I'm sorry for taking sides against you. Tomorrow night I'll be with you.